Welcome inside the RxMuscle studios here in New York for another episode of Ask Dave, better known as #AskDave, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Visit speciesnutrition.com. Take advantage of the closeout specials on speciesnutrition.com. 30-minute question and answer with Dave Palumbo. Ask anything from training questions, diet, supplementation, all your questions about the Olympia, about the North Americans taking place down in Pittsburgh right now. It is all on the table as we bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, we are sitting, 2.5 weeks out of the Olympia right now. So much activity, so many interviews, so many reasons right now to visit RxMuscle.com.
Absolutely, and I even have knowledge now about pulling teeth out of your mouth because I've had 2 root canals on this tooth to no avail, and they had to pull it yesterday. And, of course, they're like, oh, it's nothing. It's a routine extraction. Pop it right out. Of course, my tooth fell apart, and it took them whatever. They had to, dissect every little piece out. I'm sure I still got a few pieces in there. And now I got to get bone graft they had to do, and now I have to get a dental implant. So I'm a dental expert now as well. So if you want to add that to your list of all the questions you guys can ask me, I'm good. Now, as far as the Olympia is concerned, less than 2 weeks now. I'm excited. We're getting close. We've been doing some great work on our live with interview shows. We got some great ones in the bag. I know we just released Sadiq went up the other day, and Jeremy Buendia, the Mr. Olympia, went up there, and Jason Poston should be going up pretty soon. We'll be interviewing India Paulino. I know you got a full lineup, Sid, of stuff lined up for me. I have not a minute to do anything. Every single minute of my day is completely taken up. We are doing such great coverage. And, we have to thank Results Nutrition, because without Results Nutrition, this Olympia coverage would not be possible for all the fans out there.
So check out resultsnutrition.com again. India Paulino, Bikini Pro, won the 2015 New York Pro Show. She's going to be joining us in about 40 minutes right here on RxMuscle.com, 5 p.m. India Paulino. So if you want to jump in, you can join us on the Muscle Central Forum at RxMuscle.com, Twitter using #AskDave, our official Facebook page, or Instagram page, official_RxMuscle, or if you're watching on the livestream.com livestream.com page, you can use the chat box below. We start off on the Muscle Central Forum and go to Vegan Penny. Dave, I hate this show more than you hate running into me at every East Coast bodybuilding event. What would you advise for a client you train with crepitus to do for legs, and squats and leg extensions may make it worse? Many people complain to me about their knees cracking, yet I see them always doing the same exercises at the gym. Any thoughts on knee sleeves?
Well, the term crepitus implies that crackling sound. If you ever squat down and you hear your knees crackle, or if your shoulder does that, makes that crackling sound, that's crepitus. It's usually like the pre-signs of arthritis in some people. In some people, it's just an inflamed tendon and the muscles are not moving smoothly past each other, and you're getting a little rubbing on the bones. Some people I know people who have it for 20 years, and they squat and they do everything normal, and it doesn't affect them, and they just maybe have a little rubbing, and it does not enough to cause tendinitis or any kind of severe pain. And so I tell them, don't worry about it. If you have pain because of the crackling and crunching sounds, then you need to do something about it. A lot of times it is biomechanically speaking a problem. I just was at the gym with a client of mine today, showing him how to squat properly, and he didn't realize that he kept pulling his medialis, his vastus medialis, which is his inner teardrop muscle on his leg, kept pulling it and straining it. And when I took him to the gym and I showed him to open up his squatting stance, keeping his feet pointing forward, pushing from his heels, all of a sudden the pain went off that part of his leg, and he started feeling it in the right muscle group. So a lot of times this crackling and crunching sound can be avoided or averted if you change your exercise form, and that's usually what I recommend people do first.
Reminder, for the best I hate, you get neutralized by Species Nutrition. For the best overall question, you're going to get a Species wristband. So keep that in mind. We stick with the Muscle Central Forum on RxMuscle.com and go to NBAR Yosef. Dave, can you do intermittent fasting with keto? Also, Dr. Jacob Wilson says true keto is 75% fat, 25% protein, and 5% carb. Do you agree or believe something else? Also, where can I find your products in Las Vegas?
Well, you could do intermittent fasting with any type of diet, really. I mean, my definition of intermittent fasting, at least the way I define it, is only eating 12 hours out of the day. So, I mean, you can put all your meals in 12 hours, the other 12 hours you don't eat. So that can be done with any diet. As far as what is the definition of a ketogenic diet, there's many definitions. What everyone calls the Dave Palumbo ketogenic diet is a high protein, moderate fat, very low carb diet. So you're eating probably way more protein than you're eating fat, and I think that's more of a performance diet. Can you follow a ketogenic diet that's higher in fat, lower in protein, and still lose weight? Absolutely. That was the original Atkins diet, which really didn't give too much structure to what you were supposed to eat. It just said don't eat carbs. So most people wound up eating bacon and butter and fatty foods, and they got a little bit of protein from the fatty foods, but it wasn't very high quality. So if you want to perform at an optimal level and repair and build muscle, you really need to eat more protein. And that's why I kind of modified the Atkins approach and made it a performance diet.
Once again, at 5 p.m. live with India Paulino, IFBB Bikini Pro. She won the 2015 New York Pro Show competing at the Olympia, and we're going to have her at 5 p.m. We now go to PA Kodiak. I asked this question in light of the DEA's recent international steroid bust known as Operation Cyberjuice. In past big busts such as Operation Raw Deal, the authorities only went after the suppliers, although they had names and addresses of the thousands of customers. To my knowledge, they did not pursue these people. Johnny is Snapchatting this, by the way, so if you're on Snapchat, follow Johnny Styles. Do you think one day the DEA will go after these customers, or will it always be just about getting the big fish?
Well, you got to remember, it's hard to go after, thousands of people. Usually drug enforcement want to go after the people who are the main distributors of the stuff, because that's where the stuff is coming from. It's not going to serve anyone to go after, Joe Blow in the gym who, wants to do a steroid cycle, once, because, there's no benefit to that. It's not going to stop what's going on. Likewise, if Joe Blow happens to be selling it to 100 people of his own, they may go after that guy. But usually when they do these major steroid busts, it's the suppliers and the main distributors that they do go after. But as Rick Collins would tell you, no one's immune. So if they see a name that might be a big name, they might say, let's make an example of that guy. And I think that you have to be aware of that.
We'll stick on the Muscle Central forum and go to T. Joe. This show sucks because I've been trying for a month to get my question answered. You're about to get your question answered. In regards to your keto diet, Dave, since the idea behind the cheat meal while following your diet is to kick up thyroid, what would be some recommendations for using it post-workout? What sources would be the best, approximate grams of carbs, etc.?
Well, once again, the cheat meal is not designed to build muscle, okay? It's designed to shock your body, essentially, into thinking it's not dieting, so that your body doesn't slow down metabolic rate via thyroid hormone. When you start getting into this whole thing with the cheat meal, post-workout, after my arm workout, after my legs, because I have weak legs, you're not really going to be able to build muscle while you're dieting. It just doesn't happen. And you putting a cheat meal before your weak body part or right after your weak body part is not going to really help anything. So what I tell people to do is make your cheat meal Saturday night or Sunday night or Friday night. When you go out, have a nice meal, for your fifth or sixth meal of the day, and enjoy yourself. Don't try to time it around your workouts and everything. Whenever it falls, it falls. Don't make it too big a deal out of it, okay? I know guys that prepare the whole week for their cheat meal. They have food lists of what they're going to eat, and they wind up overdoing it, invariably making themselves sick. And just go out and have a nice meal. Don't make a big production about it.
Let's go to our good friend Puma on Long Island. I hate this show so much I'd rather shoot myself after having to sit through an over-enthusiastic C.T. Fletcher seminar, get resurrected by barbarian brother Peter Paul, only to awaken at a Kai Green seminar as he explains lifting weights on a metaphysical level, and have to shoot myself again instead of listening to this show. Is it more advantageous to be short or tall in bodybuilding? It seems very few successful competitors over 6 feet these days, and the shorter guys can cut up and still look full. With all the guys out there calling themselves giant killers, wouldn't it be more impressive to see a dwarf killer?
Personally, I think the ideal height is probably around what I was competing at, around anywhere from 5'9.5" to about 5'11.5". That seems to be where you get your greatest competitors, the Ronnie Colemans, the Dorian Yates, the Lee Haneys. Those are the guys, even Flex Wheeler. Those guys were in that range. Even Levrone was about 5'9.5". So I think when you get shorter than that, you can get an impressive physique like on a Sean Ray or Elite Priest, but you're never going to beat the big guys if there's better big guys. And the guys that tend to be taller than 6 foot have trouble because of leg development. Dillette might have been one of the few guys that was over 6 that was able to handle, keep the leg mass up. Jimmy Quinn, he didn't have the best shape, but he had a lot of leg mass for a big, tall guy. Even at the Evan Centopani's like on that slightly over that 6 foot mark, but he has leg issues. So I think that once you go over that 5'11", you're going to start having problems. So personally, if I had to give a height range, it would be 5'9.5" to about 5'11.5". It's perfect.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com. Reminder, 5 p.m. live with India Paulino is going to be joining us in RxMuscle.com's March to the Olympia, brought to you by Results Nutrition. We stay on the Muscle Central Forum, and it seems to be that ketogenic diets is the theme of the day. We go to Yarpy. Dave, I hate this show so much, I'd rather lick clean, bro. Okay, whoa. I'm just going to skip over that one. Being a big advocate of ketogenic diet, is it true that your skin will not be as tight on stage as it would be if you consume moderate amounts of simple and complex carbs throughout your prep?
Well, it sounds like a statement that might be true, but except for the fact that what the hell do carbs have to do with your skin? There is nothing. There's collagen and connective tissue made up of fats and protein, essentially. So, no. I mean, obviously, if you don't carb up at the end and you don't fill your muscles with glycogen right before the show, you could have looser skin because the skin is not being taut because the muscle's not filled up. But part of the ketogenic diet that I at least formulate for my competitors is once they're in shape, we carb them up the last 3 days or so to make sure that the skin is busting and it's nice and tight and taut, and we pull the water out, obviously. So no, I mean, look, it doesn't matter how you lose weight, just like it doesn't matter how you skin a cat. Once you get the skin off or once you get the fat off your body, it's gone. It doesn't matter how you did it. It's not going to affect how you look on stage unless, once again, if you're doing a ketogenic diet, you don't carb up at the end, or if you're doing a fat-free diet, if you don't put fats in at the end, a lot of times your skin will be loose. You see these guys that eat 1,000 grams of carbs to carb up, and their skin still doesn't look right because they're fat depleted. So you got to make sure that all the macronutrients are supplied in the right amounts, especially that last week.
Let's go to Black Liver Labs. Dave, I hate this show so much, I'm having friends halfway across the globe participate to drive you bankrupt in shipping fees. My question is about Fiberlize. Did George Farah go through a tub of it a day, which... Oh, fuck. You know what? At some point, poor George Farah. How does Fiberlize differ from the other brand name fibers such as Metamucil or Powder Clean? What made you decide to come out with a fiber supplement?
Well, I came out with a fiber supplement because I'm a big believer in detoxification. I'd say maybe 3/4 of the way through my career, I realized that, I met a couple people who really enlightened me that I wasn't detoxifying my body properly. I was getting all the right nutrients into my body, but I wasn't getting the waste products out. And that was causing my skin to be really broken out. It was causing my stomach to be distended. And once I started experimenting with different fibers and researching it, I said, holy mackerel, I've missed, a whole section of nutrition, which is the most important section because you can only be as good as as much toxins as you can get rid of from the body. I give the fish tank analogy. If you have a fish tank, and I have plenty of fish tanks in my house, and I can give you this analogy very easily, and you don't clean the water, no matter how good the fish are, no matter how good you feed the fish, they won't thrive. You got to have good filtration. You got to do water changes to get the extra toxins out that you can't get with the filters. And if you think about it, the filters in your body are your kidneys. Okay, the detoxification, portions of the filters would be your liver. But they can only work so well. Every once in a while you have to do a water change in your body. And the water change is taking a fiber supplement that's going to grab toxins and pull them out of your body. Now, there's two separate categories of fibers, soluble and insoluble. You need both of them. Okay, most of the good quality fiber supplements on the market, like the psyllium-based ones, like if you just went to the store and bought psyllium husk or you went and got Metamucil, they're good, but they're not complete because they don't have the soluble fiber. They only have the insoluble fiber. Now, there are some fibers on the market that have both soluble and insoluble, but they don't use psyllium because psyllium is expensive. And psyllium is like 35 times more potent than normal, naturally occurring sources of fiber like oat bran. So you want to combine a psyllium-based fiber with an insoluble fiber in the right amounts, and you got to make it taste pretty good or people won't use it. Because if you go and buy like a unflavored psyllium in the health food store, there's no way you're going to be able to swallow it. I might be able to because it tastes like sawdust. So that's what I did. I set out to get a psyllium-based fiber supplement with insoluble fiber that tasted good, and that's where Fiberlize came from. And I think people really like it because it is palatable. You can get it down, and the results speak for themselves.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. In about a half hour, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be joined live with India Paulino, Bikini Pro. She's going to be taking the stage at the Olympia in Vegas in just about 2 weeks. We go to our livestream.com live chat audience and welcome in Phil Barrios. Dave, can you talk about what's going to happen to men's physique? It's boring and has way too many competitors.
I think it's going to thrive, and you're going to get more and more competitors, and it might be more boring, but I got news for you. It's bringing money into the organization. It's encouraging people to start competing that never competed before because they felt they couldn't achieve the level of muscularity that bodybuilders do. And you know what? If people like it and it's popular and people are doing it, then it's good for the sport. Would I like to see maybe another division where some of these men's physique guys can actually pose, or maybe allow the men's physique guys to pose? Absolutely, I would love it. And I think eventually it's a natural progression, a natural evolution. We will see that sometime in the future. When, I don't know, but I think it's good for the sport. Do I find it a little boring? Yeah, and I think that's why they got to spice it up a little bit with maybe some kind of a artistic posing around. But we'll see. You never know what happens.
Let's go now to our Instagram page. Again, our Instagram handle, official_RxMuscle. We start with Benadu14. Hey guys, I hate this show so much. I'm just going to buy Nitrolize and never watch it again. I should have won last week. In parentheses, Sid remembers. I was rooting for you. You had my vote. Do you think one's personality and work ethic off stage affects their placing on stage? Sadiq is a great guy and role model. I see that helping his chances at the Olympia.
I think if you want to win Mr. Olympia, that there is a role modelish aspect to the title. Look, I've seen bodybuilding for many, many years, and while all the Mr. Olympias have been kind of gentlemen in a sense, they've also been the best physiques. So, I think there's a lot of controversy with the idea that maybe Kai Green can't win the Olympia because of his sordid past or some of his antics he does. I don't believe that. I haven't seen Kai show up at the Olympia looking like I know he can look up. And when he does, and if he doesn't win then we can make that assumption. But I think it is a responsibility of the guy who does win or the woman who does win to represent the sport. I mean, they're the ambassador to the whole entire sport. Ronnie did it for 8 years. Haney did it for 8 years. Dorian did it for 6 years. Jay did it for 4 years. And now Phil's done it for 4 years. So, and I think these guys have, conducted themselves as professionals. And I think that comes with the role. But I think a lot of guys maybe have won the Olympia and weren't professionals, and they kind of became professionals and realized that they were the ambassador, and maybe Jim Magna talked to them, or whatever the case may be. They realized that they had to raise their game, and they did. And I think that Kai would do the same thing if he won, and I think that anyone in that top six would be great ambassadors, including Sean Roden and Dennis Wolf. So I think that we have a good group of guys at the top of the bodybuilding world right now, and I would be proud to have any of them as Mr. Olympia, to be honest.
Let's go on now to Yo_Anthony16. I hate this show so much. I'd rather clean up the bathroom. It has to do with Greg Valentino. I will not elaborate. Dave, how beneficial are deep tissue massages and chiropractic work? How often should you get one? Any home remedies to pop the back or realign certain bones in the spine?
I was always very good at adjusting myself. Not my neck, but my back. I was always able to lay back on one of those rollers. I was able to kind of just arch my back and then twist on, holding onto the side of a wall. I was kind of but I'm very flexible. A lot of guys can adjust themselves, and chiropractors do become important. I think when I was competing at my biggest, I was getting a massage once a week, and that really, really helps recovery. And I think that if you can afford to do it, I think it's definitely worth it. It's good to see a chiropractor once a week if you can do it, and then if you have problems, multiple times a week. I always did. I went for a lot of ART, active release techniques, were really good for my shoulders, to get me through some of the hard workouts. And every once in a while I would tweak a leg or some kind of an arm muscle or something like that, and I would have my ART guy, Darlene Castro, work on me. So I think you have to have a team of practitioners working with you when you're at the elite level like that, because when you have a lot of muscle and you're lifting super heavy, you're going to get little tweaks and injuries.
Let's go to Rick Sessman watching us on the livestream.com page. Dave, I hate this show so much I would rather watch lizard and snake videos than watch another episode of this show. Are you currently taking on new clients for your services for contest prep? If so, how can we get in touch with you?
A lot of people ask me that. They think because I'm so busy I don't have time for my clients. I actually enjoy the client stuff more than I enjoy anything else. So yeah, I do have a lot of clients still. If any of you are my clients out there, that I get back to you super quick. I text back quick. I email back. People are like, I don't know how you get back to me so fast, because what I do is I have this fear that if I don't get back to people fast, I'll get backlogged and I'll never catch up. So I do love working with people. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can email me at huge285@AOL.com. Or you can sign up at davepalumbo.com for my services and then email me after that. And like I said, I do phone consults and we do off-season pre-contests. And if any of you, you just reminded me, if anyone wants to learn how to become a diet guru, okay, you can take my course. This is going to be the third time I'll be giving it. I gave it once in Australia, once out here in New York. We'll be holding it in Westbury, New York at the RxMuscle offices on October 17th. The secrets to becoming a diet guru: go over diet, off-season, pre-contest, supplementation, drug cycles, getting ready for a show, depletion, carbing up, diuretics. I pretty much answer everything. It's a 10-hour class. You can sign up at davepalumbo.com. We only have 4 spots left for the October course. So if you want to do it, I guarantee you this will be the most well-spent money that you've ever spent in your life. A lot of people out there, I know you really have this lust and passion for knowledge, and you just don't know where to get it. You go on the internet, you're not really sure what to listen to. I will break down the science of everything. It will be the most comprehensive course you've ever taken, but it will be very understandable. I don't speak on too high a level. Everyone will be able to ask their questions and get them answered, and I think that when you leave, you'll feel comfortable with your knowledge base, not only applying it to yourself, but applying it to other people. And I think that it's a great service. I don't know how much longer I'm going to do it, but for now, people have been really pounding me to do it, and I'm getting people to sign up. So we got 4 more spots. October 17th, sign up at davepalumbo.com.
Let's go to Torin_Davis34. I hate this show so much, I'm going to start Ask Torin. I like that. Original. Very nice. My question is, okay, what do you say? I asked a question last week about what do you think about Kai and Branch 4 weeks out. Well, everybody saw the pictures of Kai 3 weeks out, and I know you've seen it, so what is your take on it? Do you think his coach should still be nervous now or happy with his results 3 weeks out?
Look, you know what? Pictures online don't mean anything. First of all, I don't know who puts filters on their pictures and changes them around. And the guy in the gym never wins the Olympia. It's always the guy who you never expect. No one ever saw pictures of Dorian in the off season, and he would show up at the Olympia and he'd win every year. So same thing with Ronnie. So you know what? I don't even know how. I don't think you can really look at Kai's pictures and say he's on or off. I hope he's on. I'd like to see the best Kai I've ever seen before. He's a class act guy. He's got a great heart. I know it's his passion to win the Olympia. Will this be his year? Who knows? I know Phil is busting his ass. I've seen some pictures of Phil. He looks damn good. So Kai's going to have to show up at his best. And whether he's on right now or not, hard to tell.
We have another question about men's physique, and it's from Dr. Phil 714. Can you talk about where men's physique is going, because it's boring and there's too many competitors? A classic bodybuilding class should be created to solve the problem. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree. I agree. I've talked about this before. I feel that there should be a third division for men. Guys who don't want to be the men's physique model-ish type, but don't want to be huge bodybuilders either, but want to pose. And that's the classic men's bodybuilding division they have in Europe, where it's for a certain height you can only weigh so much. So it limits your body. So you got to kind of maximize your weight for your height. And I think that's a great idea because it keeps the physiques more aesthetic looking, like the Frank Zane look. Will they bring it into the IFBB? Who knows? I think it's a natural progression at this point, but only time will tell.
Let's go to Matt Fritzler 95. Dave, how do the mass monsters of today control their blood pressure and heart rate with all the different factors that are going against their heart?
Who knows if these guys even take their blood pressure? I don't know. Some people who are really big don't have blood pressure issues. I think blood pressure a lot of times is not just drug related. It's genetic related. I never had high blood pressure until I hit like 38 or so, and then all of a sudden my blood pressure was elevated, and I had to start taking blood pressure meds. And I don't know what it was, just a genetic thing. My dad has high blood pressure, so and so you would think when I was 300 pounds I would have had higher blood pressure than I do now. And now I'm in shape, and I'm only 208 or 9 pounds, but that's just the way it goes. When I do cardio and I do go out and ride my bike outside, my blood pressure drops. So it could be stress related. You never could tell. I think that a lot of these pros out there should monitor their blood pressure, because blood pressure is what dictates kidney health. If you have high blood pressure over long extended periods of time, you will damage your kidneys. That's a known fact. So if that's not enough of a reason for these guys to go to the doctor and get checked out, or even buy a blood pressure cuff and check their own blood pressure, I don't know what it is.
Dave, you want to play some trivia?
All the time.
All right, so John Hanson, good friend of the show, wants to know what 4 Mr. Olympia competitors took second place 3 years in a row. So
Wow.
4 of them.
Well, I know Jay Cutler did, and 3 years in a row. Mr. Olympia competitors or Mr. Olympias?
Mr. Olympia competitors.
All right, so definitely it was Gaspari, Jay. Who else? Was it Labrada, maybe? How many years in a row?
3. So 4 of them, 3 years in a row, second place.
Was it Flex Wheeler, maybe? Flex Wheeler. And I don't know if it was Labrada. Kai Green. Got it?
There you go.
All right.
All right, cool. So let's move on to, it's a good question here from Manny Mass on Instagram. Dave, what is it like for you and other coaches, like Chris maybe, prepping 2 athletes doing the same show and class? I would assume no friendships get hurt, but is there ever any trust issues, so to speak, between coach and athlete? I would almost feel somewhat odd working with my enemy's coach. How is this avoided?
Look, it happens. If you're a coach, you're going to help. I had 2 guys in the 60 and over class at the Masters Nationals. I didn't even know they were in the same class. I forgot about it. And the one guy beat the other guy, and the other guy got mad. And I explained to him. I said, I didn't even know the other guy was going to do the show. He decided at the last minute. So, yeah, if you're a coach and you're a good coach, you're going to give 100% to all your athletes. Someone's always going to win. There's no way around it. I think it was the 2008 Junior Nationals when Big Sean Allen won. I helped him. I helped second place Keith Williams, and third place Todd Jewell in the heavyweight class, or super heavyweight class. And then in the heavyweight class, I think I helped Mike Liberatore and Jeff Long, who were first and second. So it's happened before. And, I would hope that the athletes understand that, as long as they're at their best, that's all the coach can do.
We'll take 2 more questions. The first one, it's a question about iron debate. This one from, and again, he even mentions that I have trouble pronouncing his name. It's Rite Pelia. Dave, is there a chance to see Tom Platz on Iron Debate or Live With? We deserve to see the best legs of all time at least once on RxMuscle.
I'd love to get Tom on Live With. Maybe after the Olympia, we can do like an Olympia wrap-up with him. I've interviewed Tom on the radio show before when I was with Muscular Development, and it was a great interview. He's just a real smart, personable guy who's just well liked by everyone, and he's had a great career, and had an interesting career, all the different places he's been, and I would love to get him on. Maybe we'll contact him and see if we can get him on the Live With. If he has Skype technology, I don't know. Tom's kind of like old school.
One more question from our friend Jacoby Obi. Dave, why does your product Nitralize have only 500 milligrams of creatine when the going rate is 5,000? Is there something in the creatine that makes it more effective?
I wasn't going to put creatine in the Nitralize, but then because a lot of people don't necessarily want it in there, and then I decided I'll put a little bit in because most people are going to supplement with extra creatine anyway. If I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't even put it in there. But the creatine, in a small dosage, will get absorbed. It's not going to have as much of a performance enhancing effect as it would if you took 5 grams of the creatine. And actually, Species Nutrition is coming out with a micronized creatine probably within the next month or two, just so you can add it to your pre-workouts and stuff like that, or into your post-workout shakes. I do like creatine. I did use it when I was coming up. We were going to come out. We were going to redo our creolized liquid product again, but I think we're going to go with a powdered one just because it's a little more cost-effective, and I think it's as effective if we can put it in the right formulation. Once again, the Nitrolize, most pre-workouts don't put a ton of creatine in there because the scoop would have to be double the size, and it's just not. It's not really, that's not what it's for. It's not really a creatine supplement. So once again, it does add a little bit of endurance aspect to the muscle, but the best component of Nitrolize is the 1,600 milligram dosage of beta-alanine, and the carnosine beta-alanine at that. So that really is going to give you the endurance kick that you want. If you want to have more of a recovery or a creatine boost inside the cell, that volumization effect, I would add extra creatine on top of that.
So that's going to do it for the Ask Dave portion of the show. Now we announce the winners. The best I hate, we're going to give it to Puma from the Muscle Central Forum about how he'd rather shoot himself than having to sit through another over-enthusiastic C.T. Fletcher seminar, get resurrected by a barbarian, brother Peter Paul, only to awaken at a Kai Green seminar as he explains lifting weights on a metaphysical level and have to shoot myself again instead of listening to this show. Puma, email me, sid@speciesnutrition.com. We will get you Nitrolized by Species Nutrition. Now, Dave, we're gonna vote on the best overall question. The first one was about role models, and he mentioned Sadiq in particular, and he asked you if being a role model really had anything to do with judging at the Mr. Olympia competition. The second one, which was from Manny Mass, was about coaching two athletes in the same division and how that may affect relationships. So which one do you want to go with?
You choose.
Oof, man, these are two really good questions. I would go with Manny Mass's question about relationships between a coach and an athlete, especially if a coach is coaching two athletes in the same show in the same division. That would be my vote.
All right, let's do it.
All right, done. You get the Species wristband, which also are available on speciesnutrition.com. Go get yours today. 15 minutes, we are going to have India Paulino right here on RxMuscle.com. RxMuscle.com's March to the Olympia continues on Live with 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll see you then.